So, Paulie, tell me what you thought about Keith Thurman Jr. versus Josesito Lopez.
But it was a good fight. And you know what? I think the bottom line is it entertained. Keith got through it, and you know he's got to kind of work on it for the next one. You know.
Paulie, you've been in a situation of both guys. This is what you expected from this fight. You know, something that would start off good, and then all of a sudden it'd be trouble because of ring rust, emotions, and everything else.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's a situation where you have to come back, right? You've been off. If you want to fight again, you're gonna have to come back, and then there's gonna be ring rust when you took this much time off. So I kind of felt like it wouldn't go the distance. My prediction for the fight was it was gonna be a good fight for as long as it lasted. I didn't think it would go the distance, but I thought he would bring it all the whole time, make it fun while it lasted. But it lasted the whole way, and it was fun the whole way. I'll be honest with you. I thought I don't think anybody has anything to complain about. I know everybody wants to be judge and jury on Keith's performance, but Keith should be. Everybody should be really worrying about how entertaining they were tonight. It's up to Keith to decide. What his next move is and what he has to work on for the next fight. I think everybody should be worried about how entertaining the fight was, because that's the bottom line. When you buy a ticket to the fight, you want to be entertained, and I thought the fight entertained, and I think that should be everybody's bottom line. The opponent for being effective so much that he creates doubt in AB's mind not to throw those punches. AB doesn't just show up not to throw punches. You have to create that. So you give Pacquiao credit for doing that.
So you gave AB a chance in that fight?
To win the fight?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Because everybody always go to.
What did I say that made you think that?
No. You said you got to give him credit for taking his punching ability away.
Yeah. You got to give Pacquiao credit, because when AB doesn't throw punches, it's because you're forcing him to respect you. Like AB does, it's not against every opponent that AB doesn't throw punches. It's only against opponent that he's forced to throw to be respectful of. And I thought AB comes to win as he always does, but at a certain point, I thought Pacquiao kind of made him understand that he needed to be respected, and I thought AB got a little gunshot.
What do you think about his future, though, man? Like, he hasn't won since 2017, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he always talks his way into these things. Like, is he done at the elite level?
I don't know. He's only 29 and a half years old. I lost to Amir Khan when I was 29 and a half years old, and everybody wrote me off at the elite level when I came back. So, if we're talking about age, I think he still has a chance to come back. We talk about desire, only AB knows. Only he knows how bad he knows.
What weight class do you think he'd come back?
He shouldn't come back higher than 140.
Man, Juan Guzman. Some people call him John Guzman.
Lennox Lewis has sold his soul. You know what? This isn't a video about Lennox Lewis. I was at the fight card live, so I didn't know, but I heard that Chris Myers was the I guess he was the play-by-play guy. It couldn't have been Lennox Lewis. And they had Larry Hazard scoring once again. So I don't know how that went. I'll have to look if I care to watch the replay. One thing I saw live, referee Steve Willis, he was doing his best Steve Smoger, I guess, impersonation, whatever. But he kept patting Keith Thurman on the backside after multiple rounds, and I got a problem with that. It's as if you're favoring when you see guys get patted on the back or patted on the butt. What do you think? You think NFL. You think teammates. Like I do that to my teammate, a guy that's on my side. Excuse my voice. No, got a problem. So now you know where his loyalties lie. Here's a guy who's infamous for attempting to steal the spotlight anyway with the weird faces he makes. It's not a video about Steve Willis either. Neither him nor Myers nor Lewis. So, Keith Thurman Jr. He won a majority decision over Josesito Lopez Saturday night. I'm not going to beat Keith Thurman up in this video, although I should. I'm not going to give him as big a pass as most people because he's been out for a year and a half, a year and 3/4. I will say this. Just like when Vasily Lomachenko came back from a layoff and from surgery, it wasn't as long as Thurman, but I saw multiple videos of people who were just extremely critical when they shouldn't have been. If you saw Lomachenko fight, you saw that he didn't throw his right hand, his right hooks, as he usually does. He didn't use the right hand much at all. That's the hand where the surgical stuff took place. And everybody just, oh man, he's not all that. Oh man, this person will do this to him, that person will do whatever. And I get it. That's what you get when you're in the top 3 pound for pound, like Vasily is. But I could equally beat up on Thurman. One difference is this. Lomachenko came back and did it against a world champion with no tune-up. This for Thurman was supposed to be a tune-up. Manny Pacquiao, who was off, came back against Lucas Matisse, a former world champion, who isn't exactly the first guy you think about fighting when you're coming back after a layoff. But he did it. So Lomachenko did it. Pacquiao did it. Thurman came back against a blown-up and shop-worn lightweight who was stopped by SAUL Alvarez, stopped by Marcos Maidana, and stopped by Andre Berto. Okay? And let's not make the total rusty excuse for Thurman. He came out fast. Okay. When you think of a rusty guy, maybe you think of a slow start and then instincts kick in and so on and so forth. Thurman came out fast. Maybe faster than usual. I didn't see rust. And also remember, Keith Thurman Jr. fought once in 2016. He fought once in 2017. So he's used to time off. While I'll give him a pass a little bit for being rusty, I'm not going to give him as much a pass as everyone else in YouTube land seems to be giving him, and boxing website land seem to be giving him. He's used to time off. As a matter of fact, Keith Thurman is the Adonis Stevenson of the welterweight division. Not just in activity, but he was allowed to keep his belt and his ranking after 2 years of inactivity. I mean, that's fair to the rest of the pack trying to fight for a title, right? I thought there was a vast, how can I say it? I thought that there was a class difference or vast difference in the footwork. I think Keith's movement, Josesito Lopez was having problems cutting the ring off. And however, I'll give him credit. He gave chase all night. He came on his front foot all night, attempting to put Thurman on his back foot. And Keith Thurman Jr., he, hop, hop, hop to the left, hop, hop, hop to the right. And it's ironic that he's buddies with, or at least in the same stable, so to speak. We'll call them buddies, as with Winky Wright. You see, boxing is hit, not get hit, and hit again. You understand? So Keith, he expends too much energy, and this has nothing to do with rust. I mean, he's done this for his career. He expends too much energy with the movement, mainly because most of the movement, most of it, and most of the time is unnecessary. But he just keeps doing it. I like Dan Birmingham. I think it's something that they need to fix, or maybe I'm not inside the camp, and maybe that's something they've tried to fix and can't. It's the complete opposite of what Ronald Winky Wright did. Winky Wright was always right there in front of you. Okay? So he'd hit you, and then as you tried to hit him, he'd kind of move out of range, but still be in range once he slipped your punch to hit you back a second time with the counter. It was the most frustrating thing to try to fight Winky Wright. Going back to the the Fernando Vargas days, the days that Oscar De La Hoya made sure he avoided Winky Wright because he knew what it was. And I think I watched a television show years ago with Winky talking about how he didn't use all that movement. He just used upper body movement while being in range, enough range for you to hit him, but he'd block or he'd slip your punch and then still be in range to fire back. If he did anything, he took one step back or one step to the side, but very rarely did he do that. And it was amazing. And ironically, he's buddies with Thurman because, boy, either he tried and Thurman doesn't listen to him, or Thurman's just not built to use that technique. So if you get a chance, watch some of Winky Wright's fights, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I like Keith Thurman's body work. My voice, I'm sorry. Voice was good all day. Get home from work and I don't know what's going on. Got out in that cold weather, East Coast baby, and taking my voice probably until April or May. So anyway, I like Thurman when he went to the body. You didn't see Thurman with the explosiveness he usually has, where he kind of lunges in and throws big shots. And I'm going to tell you something. For as critical as people are of Keith Thurman Jr. in this performance, sometimes you find a blessing in disguise. The blessing here is that he got himself in a little trouble. The blessing here is he didn't get this kid out early. most people thought once Josesito went down, I believe it was in the second round, that it was only a matter of time. And don't get me wrong, he should have gotten Josesito out of here. Maybe it's that snack, that Victor Conte program he's on. But if Alvarez and Matisse and Berto, a couple of which I think were at lower weights, got him out, then Thurman should have. So, I mean, where are the knockouts, Keith? Where's this one time? Now it's been some time since you had a knockout, and people are gonna ask that question. Hey, you go back a couple of videos, Keith, you promised me. You promised me a knockout. So I'm gonna try to get you on the phone and do a telephone interview with you, or if I find my way to Florida, or if we meet up at another card, I'm gonna ask you, like, what's up, baby? But it's a blessing. He got his rounds in. He got to go rounds. He had to weather a storm, which he did. As much as Keith Thurman runs, especially when he gets in trouble, when he gets hurt, and he really runs then. Literally, like, he runs when he just moves unnecessarily in fights, but I mean, literally runs when he gets in trouble. I mean, like, runs. And so I'm gonna try to make sense out of this. As much as he runs, especially when he gets in trouble, Keith had a lot of heart. He got some heart. He weathered a storm. And I'm gonna be honest with you, between you and I, and you can disagree with this, the old Keith Thurman, who prior to the layoff might have went down from some of those shots. Josesito's not a big puncher. He's not a finisher. But there's something, everybody talks about Keith Thurman Jr.'s body. There's something with his chin, though. You're going to see it soon, but there's something not quite there. But he weathered this storm, and hats off to him. He showed some heart in there. He showed me, for once, so that's a good thing. So the scores were, I know there was a 113-113 card. I don't agree with that. There was a 15-11. It was that Weisfeld. I agree with that. And then there was a 117-109 or something like that. I don't agree with that. But that 15-11, that one was cool. That was cool.
The deadly gas.
Boy, I should have got some cough drops or something before I did this video. So after the fight, Thurman called out Manny Pacquiao. And so I'm going to go back to the problem. I ain't going to beat Keith up too much for the fight. I'm going to beat him up a little bit for this. Dude, you're calling out a 40-year-old man. Come on, guy. Come on, man. What about the young guys, Keith? Spence Jr., Garcia, the other Garcia, Porter, Brooke, Broner, Crawford, Ennis, Horn. I mean, come on, man. Unless you're telling yourself subconsciously, I need this cash out fight because if I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose to Manny and get the most money I can. And the reason I say he may be doing that subconsciously is because when they asked Keith Thurman about fighting Pac-Man, his response is, and I quote, "I most likely would definitely take it." Anybody have a problem with that? Do you know what the word definitely means? Definitely means definite. But he said, "I most likely," which shows uncertainty, "would definitely," meaning yes, take it. So which one is it, Keith? I most likely would definitely take it. Like, there ain't no most likely if it's a definitely. Come on, man. So subconsciously, are you unsure? Like, in other words, if you didn't have to listen to Allen Heyman, if you had it your way, would you say, listen, guys, if I promise to fight a third time in 2019 against a Porter or a Pacquiao, would you mind if I took one more tune-up, alleged tune-up? And then jump to one of those guys? Because that's what most likely would definitely means to me. So I don't know. You know, take some weeks off, chill with the wife, heal up, and then get back to it, because you need to. Take a look at the tape, look at what you did wrong. Maybe if they could cut down some of the movement, he won't have, he won't fade later in fights, because he certainly faded. And while most people say they were unimpressed with Keith Thurman Jr., I'm a bit disappointed in Lopez, because from the middle rounds to the late rounds, it seemed every round where he did well, it's like the next round, it's like, okay, I have 7, 8 losses for a reason, so let me show you why. Especially after 7, I needed a stronger 8th from him. If you're gonna go for it, he should have seized it. And then there was another round mixed in there where he had a nice round, and then it's like, dude, go get it. So for every person disappointed in Thurman, you got to look at Josesito and say, you had your shot and didn't take it. All right, let me move on before my voice just disappears. I want to bring up something I believe is important about the SAUL Alvarez and Daniel Jacobs fight, which is a done deal for May 4th. By the way, if Alvarez wins, he may fight Golovkin in either September of 2019 or May of 2020. There's a contest, and the winner gets to push Gennady Golovkin in his wheelchair up to the ring for the trilogy versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. So make sure you put your name into the hat. There's a guy named Kenny Keith with the Boxing Rant. They do good work. Make sure you check them out, subscribe, all that. Kenny Keith piggybacked on a point that Stephen Edwards, who's Julian Williams' trainer, made. Now, Edwards does a mailbag where he answers questions. And one of his responses was that Jacobs will have to cleanly, you hear me, cleanly win not 7, but 8 rounds in order to get the nod versus Saul Alvarez. And that's what Edwards said. And Kenny Keith agreed and said it's because Saul Alvarez drives the sport of boxing. And I agree. Jacobs, in my opinion, is going to either have to knock Alvarez out, knock him down at least 3 times, or win 9 clear rounds convincingly if he wants to walk away unified, as a unified champion. The reason I say, if you go back to Golovkin versus Alvarez 1, Gennady Golovkin clearly won, what, 8 rounds? And what happened? Ladies and gentlemen, this bout has been ruled a draw. So, Jacobs is probably going to have to win 9 clean rounds, not 8. So, Kenny piggybacked on Steven's point and added his 2 cents. So I'm going to piggyback on Kenny's point and add my 3 cents. There's a story at a link I'll leave below. And if I forget to leave it, somebody leave a message below this video to remind me. Okay? It's from the bloodyelbow.com. It's on other sites also, but bloodyelbow.com. And it reads like this. Sources familiar with the deal have indicated that Jacobs stands to collect as much as $15 million for the Alvarez fight, and a minimum of $4 million in his next 2 fights should he lose to Alvarez. If Jacobs wins or gets a draw, it's big money for those next fights. One individual familiar with the deal, but unauthorized to comment publicly on it, told the Times. I'm not looking at it. I assume it's the LA Times. So, that section I read from the article, it has like a red margin type thing on the side, like as if to embed it a little bit to show you. Here's the quote. All you got to do is read that section where it says sources familiar with the deal. I want to read this again because I want to make an important point. Sources familiar with the deal have indicated that Jacob stands to collect as much as $15 million for the Alvarez fight. And then here's the key part. And a minimum of $4 million in his next 2 fights should he lose to Alvarez. Okay? So, when you read that section again, it's like they are tipping their hat already. They are saying if, meaning when, in my opinion, if you lose Jacobs, you'll still make $8 million in your next 2 fights as a consolation. It's almost telling him right now he stands no chance unless he knocks this kid out. It's like they're saying this out of guilt. Like, even if you cleanly win 8 rounds, we're going to give it to Nello. We're going to give Nello the fight. So here's $8 million in hush money in the aftermath, if you follow me. My thing is, why not just leak out that he's going to get up to $15 million and leave it at that? Just leak that part out. But you say, oh, if, meaning when, you lose, your next 2 fights, you're going to get at least $4 million apiece. I got a problem with that. I think guilt, or maybe a Freudian slip, caused them to add the should he lose to Alvarez part. He can still make the $8 million. Like, it's kind of disturbing if you ask me. I mean, money talks. I get it. But here it's kind of like the powers that be, specifically DAZN, they're saying, hey, Danny, you know, we really like you, kid. Really like you. But we invested $365 million in this cash cow. And every rule Mayweather the cow before him was able to break, now this guy gets to do it because he's the cow. Good luck, Jacobs. You got a slim to none chance, my friend. But imagine if Jacobs did win. You'd be looking at a $50 million man who in all reality is probably worth about $1.5 million tops. I'm just saying. Even if Jacobs loses, I don't see anybody from Premier Boxing pulling in $15 million for a fight. And that's the B-side guy, folks. Jacobs the B-side guy getting $15 million. You tell me who's pulling that as a guarantee or as a potential number that is thrown out from the start. As far as the $365 million deal, I know that's a lot of money, but I think Alvarez, if he beats Golovkin, especially if he gets a TKO and he's using loaded hand wraps, he's stacking, so, and he hurt Golovkin to the body with those stacked hand wraps in the last fight. So if he were able to stop the old man, and if he were able to beat Jacobs, and then let's just say he beats one other big name like a Charlo or a Saunders or Andrade or whoever, now you're looking at that $365 million contract and divided by 11 fights or what have you. Now you're limited in your money. You understand? If he would have signed a 4-fight deal or a 6-fight deal or a 3-fight deal or something like that, if he wins these next 2 fights, let's say he wins 3 in a row. Let's say he beats Jacobs, he beats Golovkin, and he beats Charlo. Now the world is his. He can name his price, but his price has already been named. In other words, he's at the point where he can make $50 million in one night. $75 million. But because he signed a deal for $365 and divisible by 11 fights or what have you, he's locked into whatever that amount is. So as big as the amount is, that's big money. He's kind of limited with the deal because so that's what, 33 million per fight. That's big money, but you beat those 3? Nah, you should. And with the crowds he's bringing in and the numbers and all that he's doing, no, 33 million isn't enough. I mean, when you look at market value. So, anyway, I'm not counting anybody's money or what have you, but he has the star power. He's the guy, along with Anthony Joshua, as far as money. That's why Joshua's talking about coming to America to fight, because as marketable and as much as he's made in the UK, he comes here and he start putting guys on the canvas and people come to see him and so on and so forth. He's going to be in that same category. I mean, he already is, but by signing such a long deal for that number, man, it's like you put yourself in now you lock yourself, because, and those are the only 2 guys that could do it. I mean, if that offer was made to a Wilder, who's a heavyweight, or Jarrell Miller, who's a heavyweight, or a Charlo, or a Golovkin even, you jump on the $365 million. But for these 2 guys on the back end, man, if they keep winning, meaning Alvarez and Joshua, that number is kind of, it locks them in below what their perceived market value would be. 3-4 fights down the line, if you follow me. Anyway, last thing is we got Sergey Kovalev or Kovalev versus Alvarez, the rematch. And I guess Las Vegas wasn't getting any action on this fight because the opening line, the opening betting line actually had Alvarez as the favorite. And the only explanation I could come up with is they weren't getting any action, and they said, all right, we got to entice some betting. So Kovalev, or Kovalev as most people say, he opened at a -147, and Alvarez was +110. Now, I think now they got some action because a lot of money was laid down, because I believe Alvarez is now the favorite. Later is minus something. I don't know what it is. I don't have it in front of me, but anyway. What else? Wait a minute. Somebody left a note. Somebody left a note, and I told myself I was supposed to make one comment. Aldo Vergara. He left a note saying Don Ackerman had it 113, the Thurman fight. Was that somebody sending one time a message? You darn right. All the undefeated guys are getting a message sent to them. Don't worry, Errol Spence's is coming. Young Maul, Jamal Charlo got his by way of his brother. His brother didn't get a warning shot. His brother got the message loud and clear. And he got hit. He got shot. It wasn't a warning shot. But warning shots to Keith Thurman, warning shots, I believe it's going to come to Errol Spence, notwithstanding an early knockout. The only guy I think who probably won't get the warning shot, who I think Alan Heyman would send, and I'm not scared to say who's sending the warning shots, Alan Heyman. It ain't somebody, it's him body. Is Gervonta Davis. I think he's just too big and too strong for Abner Mares, even though I think Abner's part of Snack too, isn't he? So maybe he might have a little extra something on fight night, but he's just too small. Davis belongs at 135. He's fighting a 126-pounder, so it's literally two weight classes. And that if you can get ESPN Plus, that Sergey Kovalev card with Eleider Alvarez, that got some good names on it. Couple good fights. You got who's on? Richard Comey. He's fighting on that card. Is this another title shot for Richard? I think this might be another title shot for Richard Comey. Teofimo Lopez fighting Magdaleno, not Jesse Magdaleno. It's his brother. Oscar Valdez returns. He's on that card. Kovalev Alvarez. I mean, it's a good. I think it's three. Is it 3 title fights? It's I think Oscar Valdez and Carmine Tomasone. They I think they fight a championship fight. I think they fight on ESPN and ESPN Deporte. And then Richard Comey fights Isa Chanayev. That's for a world title, the IBF lightweight. Then they go to ESPN Plus for Teofimo Lopez and Diego Magdaleno, and then later Alvarez and Sergey Kovalev. So that's top ranked main events group. Yvonne Michelle. So that should be that's not a bad card, man, at all. You know, the world just seems to be so premiere heavy. Don't forget about and then the Zone. I have to watch. Man, there were 2 barn burners over the weekend with the Zone. The Jaime Munguia fight, which was a brawl, from what I hear. So I'll have to go back and watch that. And the only reason I didn't choose that one was because I wasn't home. I probably would have watched that first and then switched over to the Thurman card. Also, Joe Smith Jr. signed to fight for a world title against Dmitry Bivol. So that's coming up. That'll be on DAZN and Sky Sports in the UK. And this will be Bivol's 5th title defense. And then he's talking about moving down to 168, and he can do it. Bivol Dimitri is just, he's not big at all. If you ever seen him live, he is a small light heavyweight. So, but if they offer him the right money to fight Beterbiev or Beterbiev, take your pick, or somebody else, he might take it. But so Joe Smith will certainly bring it, Joe Smith Jr. So that should be decent. I don't have the date or anything in front of me, but that was recently signed up. So, and then Tevin Farmer, he'll be fighting in Philadelphia in March. I might go to that. That's at Temple University, the Leah Corus Center in Philly. And if anyone is in the New Jersey area this Saturday, February 2nd, they're honoring Arnold Cream, aka Jersey Joe Walcott's 105th birthday. They're having something from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. in Camden, New Jersey, right across the bridge from Philadelphia. If anyone's interested, leave a note below, or go to the website and send me a email or something like that. Because I might go to that, and I'll do a video just to shortly discuss that and give more information. Catch you on the next one.